my name's Dr. Padilla. I'm a professor in computer science and psychology, and I've been a faculty member for over 5 years. Today, I thought we could talk about something that is kind of fun, kind of scary, but it is PhD interview horror stories and lessons learned. I went through the PhD process myself. Now I'm a faculty member. I have a horror story from my interview. I also have some from my colleagues and a few that I observed when I was interviewing other people. So if you're interested in getting insights from these horror stories, maybe things not to do and ways to recover, stay tuned. I thought I would start with my own PhD horror story. So let's just set the scene. You have done all of this work where you went through an undergraduate program, then you have some experience in the research laboratory that you built up, painstaking hours, you've got your letters of recommendation, you've written all your statements, you found places to apply, and you finally applied, and lo and behold, you're getting some interviews, right? So this is at the end of a long process, you're exhausted, and now you have to perform, okay? So I was in the same boat. I actually came from a different field. I got a master's in art and then I was applying to a cognitive neuroscience program, okay? So I was feeling all of the pressure in the world. I wanted this more than anything. It was gonna be a life-changing opportunity for me. So I apply to work with a woman and I was so invested in working with her specifically, so much so that I had developed a whole research study that was in line with her research that I thought would, make her be more interested in me as an applicant. So I went over and beyond to get into this woman's good graces. I sent her an email, she didn't respond. I sent a follow-up email, she then responded, and we're gonna do a Zoom interview. At the time it was actually Skype, many, many years ago, okay? I was new to Zoom interviews at the time. It was way before the pandemic, so it wasn't something we did commonly, but she just wanted to get to know me before doing the full interview, okay? So I prepare, I read all of her research papers. I have all my questions ready. I have practiced all the responses to normal questions, right? I've done it all. I'm so prepared. I'm ready. I'm dressed up. I log in and the Zoom window pops up and I don't see her face, right? I thought we were gonna do this like video phone call thing because it was, on Zoom and not just a phone call. So I was ready, like fully prepared, looking kind of like this, right? And I didn't see her face. I just heard her voice. So I thought it was just a video call because I don't know any better. Turns out, for whatever reason, she did not turn on her video, but I had my video on. And I thought it was just a phone call. So we start the conversation and if I think someone's looking at me, I'm gonna look at them and try to respond to them. If I don't think anyone's looking at me, like I'm on the phone, I was spinning around in my seat. I think I leaned back at some point. I might have been like playing with my hair, just not at all being appropriate. I didn't do anything like super weird, but I certainly was kind of spinning around in my chair. And I think I even propped my feet up on the desk at some point during that interview because I truly thought she couldn't see me. About 3/4 of the way through the interview, she's like, "Excuse me, are you okay?" "What do you mean?" She's like, you're acting sort of strangely. And it dawned on me that she could see the whole thing. And I was mortified. I turned bright red and I was just like, I'm so sorry. I truly didn't think you could see me. I can't see you. And she's like, no, it's okay, it's okay. And she turned her camera on. I still don't know why her camera was off in the first place. But she turned her camera on and she was really nice and polite, but it's clear that she had been laughing at me because the rest of the interview, she like could not keep it together. She was clearly found the whole thing humorous. And I was mortified. So afterwards, after that interview, I sent her a follow-up email apologizing again. I did not get an offer. I wish I understand. Yeah, so that was pretty distressful for me. I couldn't believe it. I had put all of this work into this interview and I was so ready and it was just a dumb mistake on my part and I fully acted a fool in front of a famous person that I deeply wanted to like me. And I had met her a few years later and never brought it up to her again because I was, so embarrassed. So after that experience, I tried to recover to the best of my ability. I tried to sort of laugh it off and say, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. So of course I didn't get an offer from that place, understandably so. And that's so unfortunate, right? You do all of this work, you make it through the end, and you just make a mistake that you can't recover from. And I fully don't fault her, because I don't know how you could take someone seriously after they were acting that way, even if that's not how they would normally act. But I totally get it, right? Now, I did get offers from other places because I learned to be so paranoid that everything is functioning like you think, and to ask questions early. I never had anything else like that per se happen to me, but it just made me paranoid that I always know when a camera's on, and I make sure that I'm really in control of my technology. As a faculty member interviewing people myself, technological difficulties happen all of the time, okay? So don't kill yourself over it. The one that happened to me was extreme. I've never had that happen with a student, being on the other end. But certainly we have times where someone's Zoom window closes, their internet stops working. That happens pretty frequently, honestly. They have to restart their computer for various reasons. Sometimes they'll be 5 minutes late because Zoom decided to restart, etc. All of those things, I think most faculty members are pretty accepting of. That's not going to tank your interview. So if that has happened to you, faculty are very understanding of that, because we see that happen all of the time, okay? Now, there are some things that will look bad on you if you're doing them. I think this goes without saying, but it's happened so much that I feel like I need to say it. You really need to be punctual for an interview. For example, I had a candidate who was good on all other metrics, but this individual showed up 5 to 10 minutes late to everything with me. Every single thing. I think I spoke with her 4 times. Always late, okay? That's just basically, this person's always gonna be late. They're showing me that they're just always gonna be late, and that doesn't work out for me. Some faculty don't care. I am very particular about my time, and that wasn't gonna work for me. Some other things I've seen happen that didn't tank the interview, but I think could have been a lot better, is when someone's putting together their scene. Sometimes they don't think about backlighting. And this wasn't a PhD interview, it was actually a faculty interview. What happened is the person was an individual of color, and they had backlighting that was really intense. And so when they were on Zoom, you couldn't see any of their facial features at all, right? And they didn't just, change the lighting to make it more obvious about their facial features. So you just couldn't tell who you were speaking to. Like, we couldn't see this individual's eyes or anything. And so that actually negatively impacted them, I think. They got lower interviews than I think they deserved, in part because it felt like you're talking to a black void, essentially, just like an outline of a person. So really do think about that. You're trying to make personal connections all of the time, so it's important that they can see you really clearly, they can hear you very clearly, and that will really help your interviews. Now, I wanted to give you some examples of things that students have done in interviews with me that weren't great. So don't do these yourself. And they all kind of fall into the category of questionable behavior. And I just want to cue you to these things that they look kind of bad in interviews. So one thing that a student did was they talked a lot about the other places that they were interviewing, and discussed how they were more excited to get into these other places than to where we were interviewing them for. That's a major red flag. And I get that that's the truth. I completely understand that was the truth for them. They were more excited about these other opportunities, but just don't tell me. Just keep it to yourself. It showed sort of a lack of awareness, I think, of the context they were in, and it really put kind of a sour taste in our mouth. We felt like they're second or third choice, and no one wants to be the second choice. Another thing that I've seen get weird in PhD interviews is when all of the interviewees are together. Sometimes students become very competitive, and they start asking each other, who got this scholarship, who got offers from here, who got offers from there. And it does look pretty bad when there's certainly someone who's trying to outdo everyone else, trying to kind of put other people down, even if it's the people that they see as competition. That seems like what they're doing. Like, they think they're competition, so they're trying to put them down in some way. That looks very negatively. That led to someone not getting an offer, because that just meant that they weren't going to be a good member of the lab and the community, and also put some bad taste in people's mouths. I've also seen students be rude to individual staff that are helping to support the interview process. Oftentimes we fly students out for a few days and it takes a lot of staff support to get all of that type of thing done. I've seen students treat those individuals kind of like wait staff and kind of expect them to do lots of things for them and just be very rude overall, even in their communication. That ends up getting back to the people that they're applying to and doesn't look well on them as well. That has also led to people not getting offers by how rudely they were treating some of the staff members. So all these things really boil down into bad behavior. You can be a great applicant, but you can be rude, inconsiderate, unkind to people that you're interviewing with, and that will kibosh your application straight away. So be very mindful of that and try to always treat people with care and consideration. I wanted to close with what you might think is the most horrific of all the stories, something that would be devastating if it happened to you, but it turned out okay. So there was this individual who was interviewing, and at the first day dinner, they had an allergic reaction to some of the food. I think it was shellfish. That individual who was interviewing had to go to the emergency room. Full anaphylactic shock, the whole thing, right? So there was this huge, hullabaloo about having to like get this person out immediately, having to give them a ride to the hospital, etc., having to get them treatment. Everyone was super worried about their health, and we were just, shocked, felt really, really bad. And, felt like it was our responsibility in some capacity. We don't know how this person, if they didn't disclose the allergy or it was an unknown allergen in the food. In any case, it was awful. We felt bad. Did not expect this person then to show up the next day for the rest of the interviews. And they did. So this person went through the most traumatic interview process, rushed to the hospital in the ER the first night of the interview, and then showed up the next day, still kind of swollen and traumatic, but then finished their interviews and were so kind and so generous and just kind of felt bad themselves. And that person got the offer. Okay. So you can think of probably the worst thing I've ever heard happening to someone having to go to the ER, right? Because they were so kind afterwards and so thoughtful and really just a great applicant, they got an offer. So it didn't kibosh their career when maybe they thought it could have. In fact, it really looked very positively on them that in spite of this crazy adversity, fully unexpected event, in a situation where they could have potentially been mad at the people organizing the event. It wasn't, clear how these allergies were communicated, put them in danger potentially, did not in any way, act angrily, just finished up the interview with grace, and they're doing really well to this day. So that's an example of a horror story that really was turned around by someone just being an amazing person and handling it really well. So all this to say that if you're going through the PhD interview process yourself, I get it. It's scary. I went through it myself. In some ways, it's a rite of passage. But even when the worst things happen, you can recover through it by being kind and generous and really just showing your true colors. It's really when, stuff goes very wrong that you have the opportunity to show your true colors. And if you do that in a sincere way, it will see who you really are. So you can still get the offer even if something catastrophic happens. You can't get the offer if you make yourself look like an idiot and spin around in your chair during an interview, because you're kind of showing your true colors there, like me being, a little ridiculous. Hopefully that won't happen to you and you'll secure an offer at your dream location. I hope this video was entertaining. If you like the video, please consider giving it a like. And if you're interested in more content on success in academia, please subscribe to this channel. I try to post videos regularly. And also if there's a topic that you want to know more about, please comment down below. Take care.